In this video, we're going to show you how to make an Edinburgh bag. If you would like the exact shape, then you can buy our pattern from our website or our Etsy shop. But the method is the same for pretty much any basic tote bag. So you could use any size of rectangle or shape that you wish. It's suitable for beginners and we provide step-by-step instructions. There's an option to put in a magnetic clasp closure and also D-rings for a shoulder strap. We'll also be releasing a separate pattern and video for this bag except with a zipper closure rather than a magnetic clasp closure. Here's what you need. You need some main fabric, some lining fabric, some webbing to use for your handles, and then some optional items, including the magnetic bag clasp. And if you want to include a shoulder strap, then you'll need some webbing for your D-ring tabs, and you'll need 2 actual D-rings. And you'll need a clip-on shoulder strap, which you can buy online or from certain craft stores. Step 1. Cut your fabric, your handles, and if you're having a shoulder strap, then cut your D-ring tabs. You need to cut 2 of the main fabric in the bag shape and 2 of the lining fabric in the bag shape. And for the handles, for the medium size bag, we suggest using 1.5 inch or 3.5 centimetre wide webbing. Each handle is 14 inches or 35 centimetres long. The small and large size of bag require different sized handles, and the measurements for these are detailed in the written tutorial available to purchase from our website or Etsy shop. If you would like a shoulder strap, then you'll need to cut webbing for the D-ring tabs. We use 3/4 inch or 2 centimetre wide webbing, and we use 2 small strips of these which are 3 inches long or 8 centimetres, and these measurements are the same for all sizes of bags. Step 2. This is optional. You may wish to apply interfacing to your main fabric bag shape pieces if you think they need it. Step 3. And this is optional, you may wish to add a magnetic bag clasp. You should follow the manufacturer's instructions for inserting the magnetic clasp, but we're going to show you today what we did with this type of, this common form of magnetic clasp. So what we suggest you do is find the centre of the top of your bag and then measure down 1.5 inches. And this is the right side of the lining fabric. So we measure down 1.5 inches. And that's going to be the centre of your clasp. So then take one of your clasp backings and place it directly over the centre of it, over the centre mark. And then mark the 2 slots on either side. And it's these 2 slots that you're going to snip in order to push the prongs through. So we take your scissors and just fold it and give it a little snip on those prong marks and push the prongs through the slots and go to the inside of your lining fabric and put the backing disc on it and fold the prongs away from the centre to hold it in place. And then you do the same with the other side of the clasp with the other piece of lining fabric. Step 4. Attach the handles to the main fabric pieces. So you want to attach your handles onto the right hand side of your main fabric. So you need to measure in from this top corner. I'm making a medium size bag here, so we're going to measure in 2 inches and mark that. And the same on the other side, measure in 2 inches and mark that. Then take your handle, and you're going to be doing right sides together, so if there is a right side, find it and that's the one you're going to place down because you're going to be attaching the handles upside down. So place the handle with about 1 inch over the top of the bag. Keep it nice and straight and pin it together. And try to make sure that your handle doesn't twist. Again, other side, matching the edge of the handle to your mark on the top, in this case 2 inches in, and pin. It can be quite tricky if your handles are made of a very stiff fabric and your main fabric is not. And then we're going to be taking that over to the machine and we're going to be sewing close to that top edge, about 1/4 inch or 1/2 centimetre, just to hold that handle in place. And yeah, we're going to be sewing very close to the top of the bag, about 1/4 inch or 1/2 centimetre. And you might want to go over it a couple of times just to secure it in place. And the same with the other one. And you want to do the same for the other handle and attach it to the other side of the bag. Step 5. Sew the main fabric pieces together and sew the lining fabric pieces together. We'll do the main fabric first and we're going to put them right sides together. And we're going to pin them all around the outside and then we're going to be sewing all around the outside except for the top. So match up the corners. And a lot of pinning to be done here all around the outside. And now we're going to take that over to our machine and we're going to sew all around the outside, but not across the top, but all around the U shape, 3/8 inch seam allowance or 1/2 centimetre. And now we're going to do the same to lining fabric. So take your 2 pieces of lining fabric and put them right sides together. If you have a magnetic clasp, you might want to put it together so that you know that it's going to fit. And then we're going to pin or clip all around the outside so that we can sew all around the outside except for the top and except for a gap of 6 inches or 15 centimetres at the bottom of the bag, which is where you're going to turn the bag later. So let's get pinning. So do remember to leave the 6 inch or 15 centimetre gap in the bottom. So I'm going to put a couple of clips here to remind myself to stop sewing when I'm going around the outside. It's really easy to keep going and forget about your gap. So I'm going to mark those there so I remember to stop and leave the gap. And now we're going to take that over to our sewing machine and sew all around the outside except the top and the gap, with a 3/8 inch seam allowance or 1 centimetre. Step 6. Trim your seam allowance, clip the curves and turn the main fabric bag right side out and press. And now you want to remove any pins if you still have them and trim your seam allowance. And clip your curves. And now we're going to do the same with the lining fabric. Trim your seam allowance. I don't like to trim it too short underneath the gap because actually I find a bit of fabric on the other side makes it easier to fold and sew from the other side. So maybe just leave that seam allowance alone. And clip your curves. And you can turn your main fabric bag right side out and give it a press in preparation for the next step. The handles can still stay downward and we'll take that over to the iron and give it a press. Step 7, and this is optional. If you're going to have a shoulder strap, then you'll need to prepare the D-ring tabs. So I have used 3/4 of an inch or 2 centimetre wide webbing here, and I've taken 2 small strips of 8 centimetres each, and that's 3 inches each. And what you want to do is fold them in half. You can press it if you like, and you're going to insert your D-ring, and then I like to sew very close to the outside up each side just to hold that D-ring in place and stop it flying around. Step 8. Attach the lining to the main fabric. Now you want to take the lining bag, which should still be inside out, and your main fabric bag, which is right side out with the handles facing downwards, and put the main fabric bag inside the lining bag so that they're right sides together with the handles sandwiched between the fabrics. Match up your side seams. If you're having a shoulder strap, then you'll need to put your D-rings inside, in between the main fabric and the lining fabric at the side seams. So try to have the centre of that D-ring tab lined up on the side seam. If you do have D-rings, then it can get quite thick here, so I would suggest you use a clip rather than a pin if you have them. So we'll just put that D-ring in between the two fabrics. And do the same at the other seam. If you don't have D-rings, then you just match up the side seams and pin and clip them. And then after you've put the D-rings in, or you've just matched up the side seams, you're going to go around that top and match up the top of the main fabric with the top of the lining fabric, and then just pin or clip it all around the top of the bags. We're now going to sew all around the top of the bag with a 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimetre seam allowance. And this is a medium bag, so if you have a medium or a small bag, then I definitely would recommend taking off the arm of your sewing machine if you can. And this will make it easier to sew all around the top of the bag. And you might like to sew several times over your handles just to reinforce. And now, if you like, you can trim the tops of the handles if you like, but these handles are particularly heavy, so I'm going to leave them on because I feel it helps with the balance. Step 9. Turn the bag and close the gap in the lining. And now the moment of truth, when you want to turn the bag through this gap in the lining. Your hands right in and push out the corners. And just check that your D-rings are securely in place. And then we're going to be pushing this lining inside the main fabric, but first you want to close that gap in your lining. So you can hand sew it or you can machine stitch it. Step 10. Push the lining to the inside, press, and if you like, top stitch. And now we want to push that lining inside the main fabric. And push out all your corners. And then this next step is optional. If you want to, you can top stitch round the top of the bag. So making sure that you pull your D-rings out the way when you do it. So I would just top stitch very close to the edge, about 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 centimetre round the top. And then that would just strengthen these handles even further and give it a nice finish, but it's completely optional. If you prefer, you can just leave it as it is. And congratulations, you have finished. And if you liked the video, please subscribe, and we'll be issuing another one shortly for the same style of bag, but this time with a zipper installed at the top. And if you liked that exact shape of bag, you can purchase our pattern from our website or our Etsy shop. Thank you for watching.